MFA is not that complicated. So for the past few weeks, the MSP I work for has been rolling out MFA to our clients. One of them is a small town water plant. This user calls me up and asks for help with setting up the MFA. I connect to their machine and guide them to the spot where they need to scan the QR code on their app. User said they had MS Auth already installed. User tells me, it says no link found. I say, what did you scan it with? User says, my camera app. I say, you have to scan it with the Microsoft Authenticator. User says, what's that? Then I tell the user, the multi-factor app you said you already had. User says, oh, I don't know what that is. I send them the download link and wait 5 minutes for them to download it. We link it to their app. User now says, okay, so now I just delete it, right? I say, no, you need to keep it. User already deleted it before I answered. Me internally screaming. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Storytime with Uncle Jon. Today we're taking a look at r/Tales from Tech Support. I can almost guarantee, I've been around the block a few times. I can almost guarantee this person at the water plant got emails, warning them that, hey, this is what we're doing next. This is what we're going to be doing. This is our plan. Here's what you need to do to prepare for this change. Oh, camera's all out of. That's better. I dusted everything the other day and knocked a bunch of stuff out of whack. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm quite sure they got emails explaining what was going on and how to prepare for what was going to happen. And even after that, if the guy says you need this app, he's waiting for you to download it. Why would you just immediately delete it? I don't know. People are weird. That's all I can say. Not my product, not my user, still somehow my problem? So what? Right. I was on my lunch break, 1 hour and 15 minutes. Not bad. I enjoy it and I'm grateful. Beats the 20 to 30 minutes I'd get at the supermarket previously. Just outside, loitering in the public car park opposite the office, getting my nicotine in before I have to get back to work during a very quiet and empty part of the year. A nice couple stop and turn a few meters from me. They turn and ask, hi, we're just on our way into town for lunch. Where do we go to get to the high street? I say, oh, you just go through this door, down the stairs, take a right, then a left, follow the road up and around the curve, then you can turn right for the old town and left for the new town. Then suddenly I hear the voice of an agitated man through transparency mode on my AirPods. He sounded very annoyed and apparently I look kind and approachable. I bid the couple adieu as they give me their thanks. I see a man approach me. My guess is Turkish, Greek, Mediterranean for sure. I struggle to make out his accent, so I remove my AirPods. I say, sorry, could you repeat that? The bloke says, I need to pay parking, but it isn't working and the app is shit, and I've been trying to do this for 40 minutes. I say, okay, sir, I'll see what I can do to help. We make our way to the closest pay machine. He starts fumbling with the touchscreen as though it's meant to interpret his thoughts. I take a breath and try to get him to follow instructions. Easy enough, right? Well, after today, I'm glad I work with lawyers. Even the worst of our firm aren't quite this difficult. I can barely make out his accent, so I try to speak to him slower and a little clearer. My posh received pronunciation British accent helps a bit here. Okay, sir, so first what you need to do is enter your car's registration number. Bloke says, why? What does that do? It doesn't have cameras, so why does it need it? I hate this machine, it's so shit. I say, a council worker comes around the car park every 3 hours or so, and if they scan your registration without it being in the system, they'll fine you. If you enter your car's number plate in the machine, it'll put it in the system so you don't get fined. Bloke says, so why is he not here to help me now? Why is the app shit? See, I was trying to do this on the app. After a couple minutes of containing plenty of foreign swear words, futile attempts to shake the cement-bottomed machine, and a few light and annoyed kicks at the inanimate object, I finally managed to get him to enter his number plate into the machine. He kept going on about the app, and I told him that he doesn't need to worry about the app since we're using the machine. Anyway, his reg is entered, he gets the receipt, you know what he does? He says he wants to make sure it's definitely working. He flies through the process that I had just spent 6 or 7 minutes trying to teach him, seemingly in milliseconds. I didn't even have a chance to say, no sir, don't do that. It'll deregister your car. So then it shows the please register your car screen. Again, he gets more annoyed. At this point, I'm done. I felt uncomfortable already, but I'm not spending any more time around him than I need to. I point at the receipt he has to show his car is registered, tell him his car is in the system and he should be good to go. He doesn't need to worry about it anymore. I have to head back to work, blah blah blah. In a futile attempt to make me feel less anxious and uncomfortable, he apologizes for his behavior and talks about how he hates this technology and it's not directed at me. I thank him and say it's fine and I walk away. I make other people's problems my own, and somehow I'm great at attracting people with short fuses. I've been in that position a lot of times in different scenarios. I guess I look approachable to a certain extent, and I tend to like to be helpful to people, even if it's not my direct issue. If I can help somebody figure something out, why not? I'll give it a shot. It becomes more difficult to be kind and keep my thoughts to myself when people start becoming super agitated and won't listen to reason or instructions. So, yeah, that seems to be an ongoing trend with people, whether it's technology related or not. It seems very difficult for people to actually follow directions. Like just simple, do X, stop. Now do Y, stop. Now do Z, stop. Even if you break it down that simply, they just cannot do it. They either want to think 3 steps ahead of you, what they think is 3 steps ahead of you, or they lag behind and, they'll do the step, but then they want to go in reverse. I don't know. Okay, this title's a little confusing. Me refused to give information needed to resolve the issue. I don't know if this person was typing fast or what. Let's see what it's about. The client says, this video won't upload to the site. It has an error message. Engineer says, the screenshot's not clear. Could you provide the video having the issue and attach it to the ticket? Is this all videos or just this one? 4 days go by. Client gets back in touch. I still can't upload the video to the site. Can you fix this, please? Engineer says, sorry to hear you're still having trouble. Can you provide the video that's not working? Is this all videos or just this one? He checks other open tickets, check audit logs to see other users able to upload videos just fine. No other tickets regarding videos logged. 3 days go by. Engineer reaches out. Hi, so-and-so. As per our policy, if no response after 5 working days is provided, we will resolve the ticket due to lack of information. We can't progress with this ticket without your cooperation. If you have the information, please respond within 7 working days to reopen the ticket. After then, you'll need to log a new ticket. 2 days go by. Client, now seemingly agitated, says, I demand the issue be escalated as it was resolved without my permission. I still can't upload the video. Check the logs. You don't need me to respond. Engineer again responds saying, hi, so-and-so. I can see from the audit log that it's content with the ID that you cannot upload. At this date and time, the only error I can find in the backlogs for the time of you editing and uploading content only shows an error code and a vague message. Please provide the said video so I can check the naming, the file type, and the size of the document. Now 5 days go by. Client says, this is still not resolved. Escalate this. Well, the engineer escalates it. Escalations resolve and close the ticket after waiting for said video for 3 days and make the client log a new ticket. There was a comment down below this one. I forgot to screenshot it. But anyway, there was a comment down below that said, it's like taking the bus to your local mechanic, telling him that you have a problem with your car, it absolutely will not run, then catching the bus back home and sitting there staring at your phone waiting for them to call you back saying that your car's fixed while your car's sitting either in front of your house or in your garage. You gotta bring the problem to the person so they can actually fix it. So, you gotta give them information. Duh. Have cell phone, can do support. Back in 2017, I did a bike ride called Tour of the Moon. It was a 45-mile pleasure ride, with 23 miles of it being uphill at the Colorado National Monument, outside of Grand Junction, Colorado. I'm riding from east to west, and the climb is not as bad as it is going the other way around. I'm pedaling up the hill, about a mile from the first tunnel, and the phone rings. It was a hospitality client who had a guest that was having issues connecting to the hotel's Wi-Fi. I explained to my client that I was on a bike ride, was currently pedaling up the CNM, and that if I could visualize what was happening on the guest's laptop, I could probably troubleshoot the issue. The front desk transferred me to the guest where I explained my situation. They needed the internet connection, so let the fun and games begin. I'm head down and pedaling, talking to the guest, when another rider decided to draft me and listen in on the conversation. After about 5 minutes of troubleshooting, I get the guest connected. They're happy, and I hang up. The rider who was drafting me asked what I had been doing. I told him that I just paid for my trip to do the ride. When he gave me a huh look, I explained that I was a computer consultant and that I was fixing a problem a hotel guest was having getting an internet connection. Since I received the call away from my home base, the pleasure trip just became a business trip. He said that was the craziest thing he'd ever seen and heard of on a bike ride. I said that I just love my job, 24/7, 365 days a week. I told him to have a good one and pedaled into the tunnel for the rest of the ride. Little known fact, I haven't done it lately, but I'm going to start. We got a trip coming up back to Florida soon to take my mom back to Florida. If I record one video on the road or while I'm there, that changes everything when it comes to taxes. I had no idea that it was that simple. And trust me, I asked an accountant, I asked somebody from the IRS itself. I said, I have to work whether I'm on the road or not. And he said, if you're on the road and you do this work, which, work, it's recording a video running my mouth, but you know what I mean. It does count on my taxes. So what do you know? So guess who's going to be doing an episode from Florida soon? This guy. My laptop keeps deleting stuff. A few weeks ago, a client contacted our ICT services complaining that her laptop was deleting stuff, emails and files. I checked if the mouse was working properly, which it was, so I had no clue what was happening, but I suspected something was going wrong between the keyboard and chair. Probably a good bet. Just to give some ease of mind, I updated the BIOS and that this would likely solve the issue. After it was done, she came back within 10 minutes and said, I plugged my laptop into the second screen and it started deleting stuff again. Oh dear. Okay, something wrong with her docking station, I guess, so I'll walk over to her desk and check. I came in, looked at her desk, and basically immediately saw something that could cause the problem. A mouse and keyboard were connected to the docking station, which she didn't want to use. Therefore, what she decided to do was shove them out of the way, where she moved the keyboard so much that the cable had enough tension to press down one specific key, the delete button. It's amazing how many people don't pay attention to what their keyboard's doing. Even if I have one keyboard, one wired keyboard, one wireless mouse. And sometimes I'll leave my computer on, just shut off the screens at night and just kind of carefully place my keyboard back under the monitor, hopefully to keep the cats from walking on it. Doesn't always work. And I'll minimize whatever programs are up and set to go for the next day so that, hopefully if they do press a key, it doesn't affect that. Again, doesn't always work. But my wife will pile things on her desk. Now she has a laptop. Personally, if I'm not using a laptop, I close the screen. It's just safer that way. Nothing gets broken, nothing gets spilled. Well, almost nothing gets spilled in it, and keys don't get pressed. She leaves her laptop open. Little kids come in, press buttons. Sometimes peel the buttons off. Cats walk on the screen. Dogs. Don't ask. Anyway, and then she'll pile things on her desk, and sometimes those things end up partially on her keyboard, and then she wonders why everything's going kerflooey. I can only explain it so many times. Wi-Fi equals the internet. I'm sure you've all experienced this one before. The CEO and I have a very good personal standing and help each other out every once in a while. Around 15 minutes to the end of my shift, my work phone rings. It's the CEO. CEO says, "Hey, can I bother you for a minute? It's something about my home network if you're okay with that." I say, "Sure thing, what's up?" CEO, "So my home internet is down and the router has its info LED lit up red. I Googled and says that I can log into my router and it would tell me the error, but I don't know how to access the router. Can you help?" I say, "Sure, so open up your laptop and connect to your Wi-Fi, then open a browser and go to 192.168.1.1. CEO says, "Well, I can't do that. I can't connect to the Wi-Fi." Have you tried rebooting the router, like unplugging it, waiting 5 minutes and plugging it back in? CEO says, "Yeah, I did that, but it's not working." I say, "Well, okay, do you see your Wi-Fi network at all? Does it say anything if you try to connect to it?" CEO says, "Yeah, it just says no internet." I say, "Okay, so just open up Chrome and go to 192.168.1.1. CEO says, "But how would I do that if I don't have Wi-Fi? The internet's not working." I say, "Oh, I see. Well, you can be connected to the Wi-Fi without having internet access. You can still access local resources then, and since your router's local to you, that'll work." CEO says, "Oh, I'm so sorry, man, but I don't quite catch it." I say, "All right, so imagine you have your car, but the gas tank's empty, right?" CEO says, "Yeah." "You can still sit in it, turn on the radio and listen to music and turn the lights on, but you can't turn on the engine and drive it, right?" CEO says, "Yeah, that's correct." I say, car equals Wi-Fi, gas tank equals internet connection. Driving somewhere equals accessing the internet. CEO says, "Oh!" It ended up being an ISP issue as I suspected, but I was glad that I could help. What have you used to explain things like that to your users? I try to use analogies when I can. Sometimes I'm not quick enough to come up with the right analogy, or sometimes I think I'm Mr. Big Shot, and I come up with an analogy and it sounds good in my head, and then it comes out of my mouth and I'm saying, "Yeah, that doesn't work." Then I got to try to stumble and come up with something that actually makes sense to me and then makes sense to the user. But so what have you guys used to help explain to your users to get them to understand certain things like that? Let me know down below. Google knows it all. Also, our on-premises stuff. We used Cisco Finesse in the past, which is a web page for managing call queues of a contact center. Even we in tech support were using it. All service agents had to log in every day, which makes this story even more surprising. User, let's call her Susan, calls and complains about not being able to log into Cisco Finesse. This was not an unheard of problem, so I first try with my own login to check if it's a general issue. It's not, so I connect to Susan remotely to take a look. She showed me how she tries to log in but fails with wrong username or password. Checking first some typical things like wrong keyboard layouts or caps lock, I take a look at the URL. It's Finesse, but definitely not our instance. Asking how she got there, but she couldn't answer. Double checking if there are any suspicious emails, but nothing. As I couldn't find out how she ended up on this page, I simply reset her password and added a bookmark for the correct URL. The next day, I was again thinking about the problem and I had an idea. I entered Cisco Finesse on Google and there it was. One of the top 10 results was the URL she used, the Cisco Finesse instance exposed to the internet. Oh. The internet-facing Cisco Finesse page is still there to this day, just with a slightly different subdomain. Fortunately, we stopped using this product entirely. I don't know what Cisco Finesse is, but I have found, and I've tried to explain this to other family members too, when you Google a company or something and you don't know the direct web address and you have your page full of Google results, first of all, don't ever click the first one. Because most of the time, it's either straight up wrong, it's some kind of spoof website with Trojans and whatever bad stuff is out there, and their spelling's just a little off, or their font changes on one of the letters, or something's different. Either that, or the first one's just a sponsored ad of some sort. Say, scroll down a little bit, 3, 4, 5 entries, and usually the one you want is right there. And I say, don't look at the title necessarily. Look at the title, but like don't go by the title. Come down at the bottom of that entry, that Google entry, and look at the actual web address, the actual URL, and see if anything looks funky there. Usually it just takes a quick glance, but yeah. Speaking of clicking on things that are no good, I got my mom set up. I went up to Jersey last week and helped my mom set up a new laptop, new printer and everything. So I think I told you guys when I was on the phone with her the night before I drove up there, I said, "So how old is your computer?" I thought she had changed out her computer. She had a tower like I have, and I thought she had just changed it out within the last 3 to 5 years. She says, "I don't know, about 20 years old. It's a Windows 7. I about lost my shit. I said, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're still running on that." And she never complained about it because it did what she needed. She did word processing, email, paid her bills online, things like that. So, I went up there, got her all hooked up, made sure her internet was good, everything secured. And then 2 days ago, evidently she was scrolling through Facebook on her computer and she clicked on some link on Facebook and all of a sudden her screen was filled up with this, Microsoft message. It says, your computer is now locked, blah, blah, blah. Call this number at the Microsoft service center, whatever. God love her. She called the number. I told her, listen, Microsoft won't do that. Just do me a favor. If you ever get that message again, power off your computer, call me. If you could take a screenshot or a picture with your cell phone, do that, then shut it off, then call me. Don't call the numbers because Microsoft will never call you, first of all. Not to sound mean or anything, I said, but did every person you talk to have an Indian accent, a thick Indian accent? She said, "Oh yeah, definitely." And I said, "Now that's not unheard of. I mean, I talked to Xfinity customer service the second day I was up there at her house last week. Some of their customer service is actually either in India. I think it is actually in India, their call center, one of their call centers. And so you can't always go by that." I said, but you can always tell by their diction, some of the things they're saying, some of the threats. So the scammers will use, threats, direct threats. They'll try to tug at your heartstrings and make you feel guilty and bad and like you did all kinds of stuff wrong. I said, if you ever get on the phone with these people, don't answer any questions. Not a yes, no, don't tell them your name, nothing. But evidently they gave her a bunch of information that showed that they already had her name, her bank account numbers, all kinds of stuff. But we got her set up. I said, don't talk to them anymore. If you need to talk to your bank, you call your bank directly. You know their number. And she talked to the fraud department and all that stuff. Got her bank account swapped over and all her cards changed. So she does have some information that I'm collecting from the scammers, different numbers and things. Now, a lot of the phone numbers are spoofed because they're using a soft dialer on their computer. and they're probably using VPNs and, spoofers and all kinds of different things. But whatever information I can get from her, links and everything else, I think I'm going to talk to Kit Boga. If you ever watch this guy, he's a scam baiter online, and send him the information and see if he can get in contact with him and maybe run him through the ringer a little bit. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's fantastic watching him. He can make his voice, he has a voice changer on his computer, make himself sound like an old lady, and he can run these people in circles for hours and days at a time until they just totally are exhausted and pissed off. And, that means there's at least 2 or 3 other people that they haven't been able to scam. So at the very least, he does that. Anyway, done running my mouth. Rewiring my school with HDMI didn't work, so now they're using Cat 6 instead. My teacher, admin of all tech in the school, told me this story some days ago. A grant was approved for my school in the last school year. Germany things. They wanted to run new HDMI cables everywhere for the projectors. My teacher tried to do that, but during the original construction before my teacher came to the school, the smallest cable tubes were used so that no HDMI plug would fit through. So now we use Ethernet cables with kind of an HDMI adapter. The funny thing is that the people who install the whole thing always come in around lunchtime and start working, so the next morning, something might not work for some reason. Thanks to the government for the grant, thanks to the builders who laid the smallest cable pipes available in the walls. Edit. I now know that Cat cables are in fact better for this task. True, long HDMI cables tend to suck. Now, I will say, Cat 5, Cat 5e, Cat 6, all that stuff, Cat cables tend to degrade after a certain distance. Like I guess for every 10 feet, they drop a certain percentage of efficiency. That's easy for you to say. Effectiveness, whatever. I know that when I was running a certain construction site along the Delaware beaches, my job site trailer was almost 100 feet from the building because we were rehabbing the original building and then getting the foundations ready between my trailer and the existing building to build a brand new hotel hooked onto the motel that we were working on then. So in order to get power and everything, they could run a temporary pole to my trailer. But my internet, I ran, I think it was 150 feet of back then it was Cat 5e cable to my trailer for internet. And it worked, but it was a little slow. Once you get over 100 feet, things get a little weird. And as far as the contractors putting in the smallest pipes possible, 99.999% of the time. Now, I can only speak for the U.S. I can't speak for Germany and other, EU countries. But I do know that most of the time that choice is not left up to the contractor. That's up to the general contractor and the building owner or the business owner or whatever. If they want to plan ahead for future projects, they will put in a certain number of empty conduits for different cabling, whether it's fiber coming in later or whatever. But that's usually not up to the contractor. So they just bid and put in what's on the plans, and they might offer extra, but not for free. So most of the time they get turned down anyway. But yeah, I mean, if I ever build my own house, I'm definitely going to, even if I have a crawl space, because I hate going through crawl spaces, I'm going to run real wide conduit, and I'll cap off the ends so that, it keeps rodents and snakes out. But I'm going to run conduit from one end of the house to the other so that I can run whatever cables I want later and make things easy for me. Because after all, everything's about me and the cats. And handmade soap. Check out the website. Maybe you'll like something.